Scott, did you did you upgrade this year? Did Santa upgrade you to good quality coal this year, or did you still get that soft coal that you usually get?
We're now live.
Thank you,
Still
Olivia.
working with the soft coal. I
Right.
actually got storm stayed at work for 2.5 days over Christmas. So my wife had the opportunity to run the snowblower for the first time. And she did fine.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I will call this meeting to order. We do have all members of the committee present, so I'd like to welcome staff and members to the first Committee of Management meeting as this group. Before we go on to the orientation that long-term care has provided, we'll just do a brief election of the chair and vice chair, and then we can proceed with the meeting. So we'll do the election of the chair first, and then the vice chair following. So I'll now open up the floor for nominations for chair. Are there any nominations? This is a one-year appointment that will end December 4th of this year. Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I would nominate Councillor Scott Mackey as the chair.
Okay, is there a seconder for that nomination?
I'll second.
So that was Councillor Patterson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other nominations for the position of chair? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to close nominations? Councillor Nielsen, seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. Okay, great. Councillor Mackey, do you wish to have your name stand for chair?
It would be my honor, Tara, to have my name stand as chair.
Great, thank you. You have been acclaimed as chair. I'll now open up the floor for nominations for vice chair. Are there any nominations? Councillor Carlton?
I would nominate Councillor Patterson, please.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that nomination?
I will second that. Tara?
Councillor Keaveney, thank you. Are there any other motions for nominations for vice chair? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to close nominations? Councillor Carlton, seconded by Councillor Nielsen. Thank you. Councillor Patterson, do you wish to let your name stand for vice chair?
I would be pleased. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So you are acclaimed as vice chair. Councillor Mackey, I will now pass it off to you as chair.
Thanks very much, Tara, and good morning, all of our senior staff and all the new members of this committee. I think I'm the only returning member, so I'd just like to say that in my estimation, this is probably one of the most important committees that County Council sits on. It was truly, an honor to sit on this committee for the last number of years. It's great to see the work, the dedication, time commitment that all of our staff in long-term care put into providing, well, it's just essential care for our seniors. So, I mean, the last 3 years have certainly been difficult, going through a pandemic, and no department within the county has worked harder than what long-term care has. And hats off to Jennifer and her leadership, and to all of our senior staff, and to the over 500 staff that we have providing care to our seniors. Thanks very much. Just to remind members of the committee of your obligation to declare an interest, pecuniary interest, or an interest. Seeing none, if anything should arise, you may declare it at that time. We don't have any delegations today. We do have a long-term care orientation that Jennifer is going to lead us through. So hopefully that opens up some good discussion for all of our new members. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to you, Jennifer.
Great. Thank you very much, Chair Mackey, and thank you for those kind comments. We'll be sure to take them back and pass those comments on to our team members. Before I launch into some slides for orientation, I thought that we would just introduce ourselves. So I'm Jennifer Cornell. I'm the Director of Long-Term Care. I have been working with the county for over 10 years and working in long-term care for my entire career of 20-ish years, and really am passionate about long-term care. And I'll just kind of go name through the Zoom room here. Renata, can you give a short introduction?
Good morning. I'm Renata Cowan, and I am the Accreditation and Quality Specialist for the 3 county homes. I am an RN and have been in long-term care for my 40-ish years of nursing. I am the former Executive Director of Lee Manor and have been in this role for 3 years, and I've been with the county for just shy of 15 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Renata. Dana.
Well, good morning to everyone. So my name is Dana Leach, and I'm a clinical specialist here with Grey County Long-Term Care. It's been my privilege to be part of the Grey County team for working on 2 years. And so what I do is support the 3 care communities with clinical programs, ensuring that we're meeting the best practices and as well as the regulation of the Fixing Long-Term Care Home Act. And I do that with a strong team and some great sound practices. So I look forward to sharing the work that we do with you.
Great. Thanks, Dana. Marcus.
My name is Marcus Hockel. I'm the manager of finance long-term care. I've been with the county for about 1.5 years. Prior to that, I was in the hospital sector working with their finance team. And my whole family, from my mom to my wife to everything, are nurses. So I've been in and around it my entire life.
Great. Thanks, Marcus. Shannon.
Good morning, everybody. Shannon Cox. I'm the Executive Director here at Grey Gables. I've been with the county for 21 years, but 3 years here as the Executive Director. And prior to that, I was at Lee Manor as the Nutrition Manager.
Great. Thanks, Shannon. Stacy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stacy Goldie. I'm the Executive Director here at Lee Manor. I've been in this role for coming up on 3 years. And prior to that, I was at Lee Manor in the role of Resident and Family Services Manager. So I have about 13 years with Grey County.
Great. Thanks, Stacy. And Karen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karen Kraus, the Executive Director at Rockwood Terrace. I've been with the county almost 15 years, but in long-term care, too many years for me to want to recall. So we'll just leave it at that.
Great, thanks, Karen. So I'm going to share my screen and share a high-level overview of long-term care that is really, as you've just heard, decades of experience, tried to roll into a 20-minute overview. So I'm just going to share my screen and get started. Okay, so I'll just confirm that you can see the slides and hear me okay? Because I stopped being able to see everyone once I start. Okay, great, thanks, Dana. So welcome to the Long-Term Care Committee of Management. Long-term care is a very complex, highly regulated, essential part of the healthcare system. This orientation will give you a high-level overview of long-term care, your role and responsibilities as members of Committee of Management, Grey County Long-Term Care's vision, our quality assurance program that we have in place so that we're always working towards that vision, a little bit of information about who lives and works in our homes, and how together we will color it into tomorrow. So municipalities are vital partners in Ontario's long-term care system that have evolved over the years. Part of the not-for-profit sector, municipalities have been operating homes and providing care for seniors for more than 150 years. The Fixing Long-Term Care Act specifies that every upper or single-tier southern municipality is required to maintain at least one municipal home. Several municipalities, including Grey County, have chosen to operate more than one long-term care home to meet their community's needs and help give seniors a strong voice in shaping services in their communities and in the province. A little bit about our 3 long-term care homes. Grey Gables was originally built in 1903 and called the House of Refuge. It was rebuilt in 1997 and is evidence of Grey County's long history of being stewards of community and a real commitment to looking after the people who live in our area. They have approximately 25 people move in a year. In 2021, Maple Lane was transitioned to offer a behavioral support transition unit, and Grey Gables is home to 66 people. Lee Manor was opened in 1973 and refurbished in 2006. It was a joint development by the Lee Estate, City of Owen Sound, County of Grey, and Province of Ontario. There are approximately 66 people that move into Lee Manor every year and is home to 150 people. Rockwood Terrace was opened in 1984, has approximately 41 people move in a year, and is currently in the redevelopment process. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. The Long-Term Care Homes Act 2007 and Regulation 7910 came into effect in July of 2010. This version was revoked on April 11, 2022, and has been replaced with the new legislation and regulations under the new Fixing Long-Term Care Act. And I prefer to just call it the Act going forward. There is lots of evidence to show that it needs transformation and opportunities to improve. I'm just not a huge fan of the word fixing. This legislative framework lays the groundwork for systematic and long-lasting reform over time, and it prioritizes three main areas: staffing and care, accountability and enforcement, and building modern and comfortable homes for seniors. This just highlights several bullets of focused areas that were introduced or enhanced with the coming of the new legislation. The new act sets out the commitment of the provincial government to increase direct care hours to an average of 4 hours of direct care per resident per day. Direct care is care that's provided by registered nurses, registered practical nurses, and personal support workers. In addition to the investment in direct care hours, the province has set a target of 36 minutes of care by allied healthcare professionals. Currently, we are budgeted and funded for 3 hours and 15 minutes of direct care per resident per day. We will be bringing a proposed 2023 budget showing 3 hours and 42 minutes, all working towards the goal of 4 hours of direct care by 2025. In addition to being licensed, legislated, and held to compliance by the Ministry of Long-Term Care, we also have a service accountability agreement called an LSAW with the LHIN, now called Ontario Health West. The LSAW outlines and specifies our responsibilities as a health service provider and includes not only requirements for performance, but also that we're actively participating in planning and integration in the development of a broader health system. The differences between long-term care and nursing home, formerly often referred to as nursing homes, and retirement homes can be confusing and overwhelming, particularly for individuals who are newly trying to navigate the system themselves or for a loved one. This chart outlines the main differences. And really, two of the main differences are the regulatory bodies. So long-term care is governed and regulated by the Ministry of Long-Term Care and Ontario Health West. Retirement homes are regulated by the Retirement Homes Regulatory Authority. Funding is provided for long-term care homes with a copay and the Ministry of Long-Term Care, where in retirement homes, they are funded fully by the resident portion. Rates are set by the Ministry of Long-Term Care, where in retirement homes, they're set by the owner. Admission into long-term care is coordinated through home and community care support services, where retirement homes are a direct access. I'd also like to clarify that all licensed long-term care homes are held to the same legislation and Ontario Health Service Accountability Agreement. That's municipally run homes, charitable and not-for-profit homes, as well as privately owned long-term care homes. We are all funded by the ministry in the same way. The rates are standard, set across all three types of long-term care homes, and we are all inspected using the same criteria. There's a lot of information and misinformation out there regarding long-term care. As part of its plan to fix long-term care, the Ontario government has launched a new long-term care home finder website. This website and search tool provides prospective residents and their families with a one-stop shop to find and compare long-term care homes across the province, along with other resources to help people make an informed choice when they're considering moving into long-term care. Home and Community Care Support Services Southwest is one of 14 community support service organizations in Ontario with a focus mandate to deliver services, community care, and access to community services and long-term care home placement. Home and Community Care Support Services, HCCSS, was formerly known as CCAC. Placement coordinators at HCCSS work with individuals to assess their eligibility and placement into long-term care. The individual's eligibility is outlined here on the slide. Residents may need to choose, or individuals who are not yet residents, may need to choose a home that is not their first choice and can remain on the list for their first choice. In many cases, we find once an individual is settled into their home, they choose not to move. Recently, there's been a lot of discussion about transferring patients without their consent from hospital when they've been deemed ALC, or alternate level of care. This approach is taken as a last resort, and to date in Grey Bruce, we are not aware of any patients being transferred to a long-term care home without their consent. We work closely with our partners at local hospitals and at HCCSS to support patients to have the information they need to move into a home of choice. There are 20 long-term care homes in Grey and Bruce counties, and leadership from those homes have a long-standing history of collaborating and working together. We've recently established a small working group with representatives from long-term care, home and community care support services, and our local hospital partners focused on transitions of care. We're working together to break down barriers for individuals who are waiting in hospital to move into a long-term care home. This slide outlines the most current waitlist information that's available, and it's in small writing on the slide, but it's information as of May 26, 2022. And this just highlights that there does continue to be a large number of individuals waiting for long-term care and quite lengthy waitlists. As mentioned earlier, the Ministry of Long-Term Care sets the accommodation rates that residents pay to live and be cared for in long-term care. Accommodation rates have also become quite complex, and there are tiered rates based on how the home's beds are classified by the ministry. A being newer beds, B, C, and D being the oldest beds. This chart shows the rates for an individual who will move into an A facility, a most up-to-date home in terms of the building and design. The rates at Rockwood Terrace, for example, which is a B facility, are slightly less than shown here. There are 3 types of resident accommodation: private room and semi-private rooms, also referred to as preferred accommodation, and basic accommodation. In some homes, basic accommodation refers to 3 and 4 person rooms. We do not have any 3 or 4 or ward rooms in any of our homes. There is also an additional government subsidy available for residents who are living in basic accommodation through our rate reduction program. And this is based on residents' income from their notice of assessment. You will have seen this slide before. It was in the larger council orientation. And this is a snapshot of who lives and works in our homes. And this, I just missed one. This slide just digs a little deeper into our resident profile. And you can really see the trend of the people that we're looking after having some form of cognitive impairment, requiring extensive assistance with the activities of daily living, such as eating, using the washroom, dressing. And this really just speaks to the complexity of the people that we look after in long-term care. Moving on to a little bit about finances. The total department budget for long-term care is 42 million. The ministry contribution is 26.5 million. The resident contribution is 7, and the Grey County contribution is 8.3 million. The funding is divided into 4 envelopes as shown in this chart. The funding for long-term care and the reporting is also extremely complex. As staff, will be bringing a proposed 2023 long-term care budget to Committee of Management at an upcoming meeting. And at that time, we'll dig deeper into the details of how the funding works, how the envelopes work, and we'll have a broader opportunity to discuss that at that upcoming meeting. The next few slides speak to the roles and responsibilities of Committee of Management. The objective of Committee of Management is to fulfill the governance role and responsibilities as outlined in the Fixing Long-Term Care Act. It is to advise County Council on matters for which Council retains decision-making role, to advise the CAO and Director of Long-Term Care on operational matters, and above all, is committed to ensuring that residents receive the highest quality of care and that the home services meet local needs. You also have an opportunity to advocate for seniors at various government tables. The Committee of Management considers the needs of residents, family members, employees, volunteers, and the community. You also consider implications for the council-approved operating budget and fulfills, as I mentioned, the legislative responsibilities as outlined in the Act. As you know, you're a committee of 6 council members and the warden, CAO, clerk, director of long-term care, clinical and quality specialists, and executive directors. We actually meet bi-monthly, and at those bi-monthly meetings, we will be presenting standing reports as well as new items and projects for direction and or consideration or feedback. Good governance requires that you be informed about long-term care in Ontario, that you take necessary measures to ensure that the corporation complies with legislation, and be committed to achieving and maintaining the vision and values of Grey County Long-Term Care. Our overall Grey County vision is to be the place where people feel genuinely at home and naturally inspired. And our Grey County Long-Term Care mission is to help you color your life your way. These are our words for resident-centered care. We call it our Color It Your Way philosophy, and it is the foundation of all that we do, and it's also our North Star. Our Color It Vision and Promise was established in 2014 with residents, families, team members, and organization partners. We promise to color it with community, opportunity, leadership, organizational quality, and safety. You is the center of all that we do. We color it with relationships, with integrity, and together into tomorrow. Color It is the framework we use to make decisions, to approach and implement new ideas and initiatives, and to evaluate our successes or failures and move them into opportunities. We have a well-established internal quality assurance program in place that audits, tracks, and assesses our care and services. We will dig into more details on those processes in upcoming meetings. This slide just gives you an overview of the quality inspection program that is operated by the ministry. So the Ministry of Long-Term Care Inspections Branch is responsible for safeguarding residents' well-being by continuously inspecting complaints and critical incidences, and by ensuring that all homes are inspected at least once per year. This is achieved by performing unannounced inspections and enforcement measures as required. The Ministry of Long-Term Care conducts complaint, critical incident, follow-up, comprehensive, and other types of inspections. Copies of the public version of inspection reports detailing all findings of noncompliance must be publicly posted in the long-term care home and provided to residents and family councils. They are also published on the ministry's website. To obtain a home's inspection report, you can ask the home directly or look on the website. When the compliance officers arrive in the homes, there's a requirement that certain information and access to health records, the provision of a room, access to a phone, etc., be provided within a specific time frame. There may be several inspectors present, and they might be in a home for several days or several weeks. Based on specific items that are triggered during the various phases of the inspection, the focus of their visit may change. This process involves the entire home and looks at functions that are being completed and whether or not they conform with the Act. For example, how resident files are kept, agreements with residents and our contracts, employee records, education records, resident care, menus, clean, safe environment, is the information that's required to be posted, and then also looks into various programs like our skin and wound program, fall prevention, and so on. This slide just gives you a snippet of what the public reporting website looks like. It's publicreporting.ltchomes.net, and several years of inspection reports are available for anyone to access and to review. People live and work in our homes, and although we are always trying to do our best, we don't always get things right or perfect. The Act requires that we have a complaint process in place that's posted clearly in each home. Complaints that we are able to resolve immediately or within 24 hours are tracked, but not required to be reported to the ministry. We must immediately report to the ministry or the provincial director of long-term care any complaints that allege harm or risk of harm to a resident. We must also report any written complaints. We track and analyze complaints to look for trends and opportunities to make improvements or to enhance education and training. The total number of complaints we receive is not necessarily a negative indicator. We want to operate homes where people feel safe and comfortable to bring forward a complaint or a concern. It means that they believe we will listen and take action. We update this committee on complaints and other risks in our operational reports that we present at committee meetings. We couldn't provide the quality care and services that we do in our homes without our team members. We have almost 600 team members providing very specialized care and support in numerous departments. Nurses, PSWs, and care support assistants, cooks and food service workers, housekeeping, laundry, and maintenance team members, recreation and restorative care, office and administration team members, the leadership that you see around this Zoom room. And this doesn't reflect the support we have from our colleagues in our other Grey County departments like finance, human resources, and IT, and clerks department. We have successfully onboarded 350 team members in the last 5 years, and we're grateful for our long service members who are integral in welcoming and orientating new staff. Despite these efforts, the long-term care sector has been facing increased staffing challenges over the past few years, and the pandemic has only amplified these issues. Since the pandemic, we have seen a trend of individuals to retire younger or move to a different career. There is strong competition with hospital, community care, and other long-term care homes for qualified employees. We continue to work with our partners in HR and economic development to support recruitment through job fairs, student placements, and some really innovative ideas. We've been really looking outside the box for innovative approaches to the Health Human Resources Challenge, and we've partnered with the YMCA Employment Services and local colleges to provide fully funded education programs for people that live in Grey County and now work in our long-term care homes in Grey County. And we'll have lots of opportunity to talk about these initiatives in the coming months. A little slide about Rockwood Terrace redevelopment, and we've talked about this a few times already. The new facility is being built to expand our services and will be located beside the existing building in Durham. And we went by the existing Rockwood Terrace on the bus tour in November. Construction goal date is between 2023 and 2025. And long-term care redevelopment task force has been established and will have the responsibility for providing recommendations to council regarding this project. And finally, the final slide, long-term care is highly complex and regulated part of healthcare. This takes a team of highly trained and skilled professionals to lead and operate. We are guided and supported by our Color It Your Way vision and have created a strategic path to support the success of Grey County long-term care. What you see here is our strategic plan. We strive to be our best, to get the best, and to deliver the best. Our strategic initiatives are underpinned by our Color It Promise and goals and projects that improve the experience of our residents, their families, and our team members. We have an opportunity to bring about positive change for individuals, for our homes, and for our communities. Grey County long-term care has become recognized for these efforts as leaders in the sector, locally, provincially, and nationally. This is work that can be difficult and challenging, but is always meaningful and purposeful. And I look forward to us working together over the next number of months or the next year. And I will stop sharing and take questions or pass it over for some good discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was a lot of information and certainly a good orientation for all the new members. I'm sure there are some questions, so we'll open it up to committee members for questions for Jennifer or any of the other members of the senior staff team. Don't be shy.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Warden. I can't see everybody on my screen, so please go ahead.
That's okay. I just thought you were ignoring me. That as per usual. That's okay. That's okay. No, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Jennifer for that presentation. I was, maybe I shouldn't admit it, but I was around when the Color It program was developed, and I loved it then, and I still love it now. You guys do a great job with that. Just a couple questions. The first one was the direct care time levels that are allotted to each resident. I would think that would have to be an average, would it not, Jennifer? Because obviously the residents will have varying levels of need in terms of care. So, you know, some residents are going to have more. So each resident isn't literally timed, are they? Or could you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Great, thank you, Warden Milne, and through you, Mr. Chair. Excellent question, and you're absolutely right. It is an average, and part of our role as long-term care providers and under the Act is to do an assessment and then designate staff as appropriate to the level of care that each individual person needs. And so it is an average. Even the 4 hours of direct care is actually a provincial average. So the province has recognized that some homes that perhaps are struggling to recruit and retain staff may have fewer than 4 hours. I'm not sure if there's any that will have more than 4 hours, but that's a provincial average. And then at our home level, we do assign care based on the needs of each resident. And so some people will have less and some will need more.
Thank you very much. And if I might, Mr. Chair, one further question. I noted on one of your slides that one of the responsibilities of this committee, and I recognize that there are many and they're large responsibilities, but one of them was to advise on operational matters, which is a little bit different than what some members might be used to in terms of governance, because governance, of course, is, you know, nose in, fingers out, whereas operational implies that we've got fingers in, but I'm not sure that's really what you meant there, although I would ask if you might clarify that a little bit, please.
Sure, thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, I might defer to Tara or Sarah. Maybe I don't see Tara or Sarah. So those responsibilities were pulled from the terms of reference. And so I agree with you in terms of what I forget the phrase you said, nose in, fingers out. Is that what you said? That's good. I need to remember that one.
That's the normal governance procedure, right? I mean,
and so I believe that that is the intention. However, to be informed enough to be able to give direction broadly to assure yourself that we're meeting compliance, I think the committee needs to receive information that is of an operational nature. So we need to bring indicators, data, the stories that tell the story so that we can then receive direction to be assured that we're meeting the compliance and the regulations and the quality goals. Kim, did you want to add something?
No, I think that's right, Jen. You've got it covered.
Yeah, so that is, you know, what I think most people would consider oversight role, as opposed to advising, you know, staff on, well, you know,
this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks.
I think a good example of that, Jennifer, is when you bring the complaints to the committee. Sometimes we go in camera to dig into, like if it's an allegation of abuse. Some of those specifics would come to the committee, but it's generally more of an information than actually our fingers in the pot. Other questions?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Member Carlton has her hand raised.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Sue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for an excellent presentation, Jennifer. I thoroughly enjoyed that and got quite a bit out of it. So I actually have two questions. The first one, on one of your slides, you mentioned about the rates and a basic rate, that we don't have any of those rooms that would apply there. So do we in fact have anyone who gets to have that basic rate? And how does that work then?
Great, thank you. I'm glad that you raised that question because I can offer clarification. So basic accommodation can refer to, okay, let me back up. Every long-term care home in Ontario must offer a proportion of basic accommodation and preferred accommodation. So all of our long-term care homes do have basic accommodation. They are two people living in a room, and the room is designated as basic accommodation. Homes that are older, some of those basic accommodations are 3 and 4 bed wards. We don't have 3 and 4 bed wards, but we do have basic accommodation. So we do have a percentage of our residents who are eligible for rate reduction to receive that additional subsidy so that they are able to afford to live in long-term care.
Thank you. And if I may, Mr. Chair, I have one other question.
Yes, go ahead, Sue.
That has to do with staffing issues. And when we have the new Rockwood Terrace built out and ready to go, we're going to have more beds, so obviously need more staff. Are we seeing that as going to be a huge issue to being able to open that new facility? And thank you.
Yes, and through you, Mr. Chair, I don't love the words huge issue. Challenge, yes. An opportunity, yes. We, the province, and we are not excluded, are facing significant challenges with the health human resource pool. So it is a challenge. We are already working at it. We've been addressing and looking at opportunities to create an environment that people want to choose to work at Grey County Long-Term Care. People that work in healthcare can choose wherever they they want to work. They can work anywhere. There are lots of opportunities. And one of the things that we have as an opportunity is to have the work experience be one that makes people choose to work with us in long-term care. So that's one thing that's always kind of an overarching goal. We are also partnering with our partners in economic development, the colleges, YMCA Employment Services, partnering with the ministry, taking advantage of all of the different initiatives that are out there to encourage people to work in long-term care, to make it easier for people to be educated in the various roles. We open our doors and welcome students. We're part of some health human resource task forces looking at outside the box ideas, trying to brainstorm. So it is a challenge that is very much on our mind and a standing agenda item in all of the work that we do. I think it's too early to say whether it will impact the ability to open the home. If that is something that it was looking like, we would bring that information to committee well in advance to be talking through what those options might be.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Jennifer. Is there other questions? Got to scroll through here.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe Member Nielsen has his hand raised.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Dane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks very much for the presentation. A question follow-up from Warden Milne's question about times and care. A lot of our homes work with a lot of volunteers who come in to support staff and their family members who are residents. Does the care times only represent the time that our staff are giving direct care? If we have volunteers working with them, does their volunteer time equal into that number? And then forgive me, the presentation was fast and furious as I was trying to scramble. You did mention the transitioning of the time from what our budget for care hours is now, transitioning to that 4-hour average. Can you just repeat those numbers for me as well?
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Nielsen, and through you, Mr. Chair. I can clarify that the average hours of direct care only refer to our paid employee time. So it does not take into account any volunteer time. I do want to take the chance, though, to acknowledge our essential care partners, or our designated care partners, who over the past 3 years have embarked on additional training, followed all of the same outbreak and pandemic protocols that our paid staff have, and are really key to making sure the residents are looked after in the way that they want to be looked after, and that their care needs are met. And so those 500 plus designated care partners are really crucial players in our care communities, but they're not that time is not included in that average. And then we are currently budgeted at 3 hours and 15 minutes. I think I'm just going to scroll back, make sure I have that correct. So we are currently at 3 hours and 15 minutes. That is our goal. Because of staffing challenges, we don't always hit that goal every day, but that's what we're currently budgeted and funded for. And the proposed 2023 budget, and we'll discuss this a little bit more at the end of the month, is 3 hours and 42 minutes. And then the next transition will be in the budget beyond that.
Thanks, Jennifer. Can you just expand a little bit upon that? When we move up to 4 hours, those are actual, regulated professionals. So you mentioned our care support assistants. There's a lot of other staff that don't fall into those, professional designations that are still providing care to our residents. I think just to get a better handle, for everybody, that a resident's not sitting in their room for, the other 18 hours or, or 20 hours a day, there's lots of other individuals providing support and care to them. Can you just maybe elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Mackey, for that question and point. Yes, so the direct care hours include anybody providing hands-on clinical care. So PSWs, RPNs, RNs. There is some debate as to whether care support assistants or resident support assistants, who is a new role that was introduced during the pandemic to support the PSW work. There's some debate whether or not that is calculated in that hour or that goal, and whether or not it continues to be funded through the nursing envelope. And there's opportunities with the ministry for us to give feedback on that and participate in discussions on what that looks like moving forward. Beyond that, the province has made an investment and an acknowledgement about allied health care, and that's social work, occupational health, physiotherapy, I'm probably missing some, dietitian, and that's really programs, recreation, and that's really the first significant acknowledgement and investment in quite a long time in long-term care. So that's really promising, and to us demonstrates seeing that the person's experience isn't just the nursing or clinical experience, but it's also what is their meal, their dining like? Do they have quality dining? Do they have opportunities to join activities and participate in groups and other things that we do in normal life outside of long-term care? As reports come forward, we do highlight the projects, the events, and the activities that happen in the homes, and I hope that you enjoy them. I love seeing the stories of all the activities that are happening. Just to give you an example, during the Mammoth Christmas storm, where things were pretty challenging, there were senior leaders that are around this table that arrived at work on Friday and went home Christmas night, Sunday, and were there throughout the duration. And they shared that Christmas still happened at each of the homes. Santa was there, gifts were given, the usual Christmas morning spirit happened, and none of that would calculate into direct care hours, right? But it's providing a life for people that live in long-term care in the way that we would want to have in our own lives.
Thanks, Jennifer. And certainly committee members will, over the next year, you'll hear a lot of those good news stories coming out of long-term care. Other questions?
Mr. Chair, it's Sue.
Yes, Sue, go ahead.
Thanks. Jennifer, can you just explain the designated care partners as compared to like volunteers? Like, I haven't heard you use the word volunteer yet. And I'm thinking, like, how does someone go into a home and read to someone or just socialize, talk to people? Is that still possible?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Patterson, and through you, Mr. Chair. Volunteers have always been such an important part of the community in long-term care. The pandemic really did cause some challenges for people that wanted to be volunteers. And so we're still just gearing back up that volunteer pool. When the schools introduced the requirement of volunteer hours in order to graduate high school, it was a great program where we had intergenerational activities, and teenagers would come in and teach residents how to use their computer and help them manage email and now social media and Snapchat and TikToks and all the things, which everyone loved. And so now that we're finding a new normal for COVID response, we still are requiring rapid antigen testing for everyone, every visit. People are getting to be a little bit more used to that. And so we're starting to see some more interest in the realm of volunteering. A lot of our volunteers prior to the pandemic were also retired, and individuals who were of an age where the media and all the information was saying, if you don't need to be exposing yourself to a vulnerable space, don't. And so we totally respected that people wanted to stay home and kind of shelter in place during the pandemic. The designated care partners are family members or friends that have been designated by a resident to be their person, to provide them support. So it's more intimately involved in the care team. Those people know the resident best, and there's an opportunity for us to remember that we don't know everything about the resident. We may know lots of things about care, clinical response, but we don't know the resident. And so having a designated care partner at the table and part of the care team helps us make sure we're meeting that person's needs and meeting their wishes. And it's the designated care partner program started as a response to the isolation during the pandemic. So people were not able to come in, not able to visit, and we knew there had to be a way to have people trained in infection control measures and know how to be tested and et cetera. And we were right. And so residents designated their person, and we did the training, and it now doesn't, there will never be that we can see a reason to completely isolate our residents from someone. So even when we're in an outbreak, we're still able to permit one designated care partner per resident to come in and visit during a respiratory outbreak or a COVID outbreak.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jennifer, I think you need to blow your horn a little bit more around the designated care partner, maybe just for the benefit of the new members. Talk about the recognition that you've received from Advantage Ontario and how other parts of the country are actually replicating the designated care partner program.
Thank you, Chair Mackey. I do appreciate being asked. It's like, how much time do you have? So I do love this program, and I would just like to say that it was in part driven by residents, but it was also largely driven by staff. So team members were saying, this is no good. We're seeing the people that we look after, that we have relationships with. We're seeing the impacts of isolation, and we know there must be a way around it. So it would never have worked and been successful without every team member being on board and being a part of that. So it has been highly recognized. We've been asked to speak at the Advantage Conference coming up about our experience. CLRI, which is the Centers for Learning, Innovation, and Research in Aging in Ontario, has led a research project that Grey Gables was actively a part of, with Grey Gables, Briere in Ottawa, and one other long-term care home. And as a result of that, there was the development of a toolkit for essential care partners. So long-term care operators who want to implement the program can go to the CLRI website. There's a short video and a little bit of a longer video about our program, and you'll see some familiar faces in the video. And then we've shared our resources, our policies, some of our strategies. And then in the early days, we were also invited by Healthcare Excellence Canada to be a part of a series of webinars to share our experience. And Ontario Caregiver Organization has just reached out asking if we would share our resources and our story with hospitals in Ontario who are looking to implement care partner programs. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done, and I'm really excited for our partners in the health system to be interested in what long-term care is doing in a really positive way.
Thanks, Jennifer, for sharing that. And at the end of the day, it's best for the residents that we provide care for. That's who's really benefiting from it. So Congratulations. You should be proud. Other questions? Sarah, help me along here if you're seeing any hands.
Through you,
Brian,
Mr. Chair.
Pardon?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I don't believe I'm seeing any further hands, but if I could bother you when you have a motion, a moment, I think I missed the motion to put the item on the floor to receive it for information.
Well, you didn't miss it. The chair missed getting a motion. Can I have a mover, please, to put the report on the floor? Moved by Councillor Nielsen and seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. Just one question before we take a vote to accept the report. Jennifer, vulnerable sector screening is going to be a requirement, or criminal reference checks vulnerable sector is going to be a requirement for every member of this committee. Do you know the timeframes, or when should committee members go to their local police agencies and start that process? Or do we need something from you indicating that a vulnerable sector is required? Can you just give us some information there, please?
Sure. I believe the clerk has circulated an email, and so have a look for that. And I believe we are supporting that process through a third party who will then reach out. We have a letter that goes through the process to explain why the request is being made. Thanks, Kim.
Sure. Just to make it simpler and more straightforward for everyone, as part of the Grey County's recruitment process, we use a third-party company to do reference checking and police checks and all sorts of due diligence. And so we thought it would be just to take something away from your very busy schedules, all of you. If you just follow the instructions in the email from clerks, then we'll just get those folks to do that work on your behalf, if that's okay. And then the results will come back to you, and then you can give them to us.
Good, thank you. All right, all in favor of receiving the report? That is carried. We don't have any correspondence. Is there any other business? Anything from any members? Again, I can't see everybody.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Seeing none.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Our next meeting date is January the 20th at 2 p.m. Is that going to be a regular meeting, Jennifer?
A regular meeting, but not a regular meeting time. We'll be moving back to, I think it's a Tuesday in the morning following that meeting. That meeting, we're bringing the budget report, the proposed budget.
All right, thank you very much. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm seeing councillors Carlton and Hutchinson, if that suits your needs.
We'll accept those two. All in favor